This is John from bookendswriting.ca. In our last video, we talked to you about maintaining your writing habit. And before that, we talked to you about starting and founding a writing habit. And if you haven't seen those earlier videos, please just take a minute and go through them. They should be linked just below. So one of the most important things about maintaining and ultimately establishing your writing habit is that it's going to allow you to get to the end goal, which is publishing your book. If you don't have an infrastructure in place in your life and in your work that makes you and helps you write every single day, it's going to be pretty difficult to get to the end goal. So starting the writing habit is something like getting trained for a race that you want to run. You're not just going to do it out of thin air. You can't just sit down and write your whole book without having done a little bit of training and a little bit of practice first. And this is a big part of maintaining the writing habit. Last time that we spoke, we gave you a 5-day form challenge, which asked you to take up some different creative forms in order to start doing some of this work to establish your writing habit and to get a bit more creative and innovative in the way that you're writing. So really where this is all going is into an approach that we've developed that we stumbled upon that we call creative cross-training. Now, creative cross-training in a nutshell is doing creative, expressive work in interesting forms of writing that feeds into your own writing project and makes your own writing project something that you can accomplish in a timely manner and something that you're going to enjoy doing. This idea of creative cross-training is something that we kind of stumbled upon. It's sort of a writing hack, I guess, if you will. And the way that we sort of discovered this was, well, while I was doing PhD research and I was trying to write a dissertation. Now, dissertations are very involved documents, huge documents, bringing in lots of secondary text, involving lots of words on the page. And writing a dissertation is difficult, and it was very difficult. And at times along the way, I stumbled, and I wasn't able to keep up my writing practice. I had bouts of months and months where I would not be able to get any writing done. And at a certain point, I just decided I need to finish this dissertation. I need this project, this writing project to finish. And I started thinking about ways that I could build a habit and get more creative, get myself the energy that I needed in order to keep writing. And this idea of creative cross-training is what came out of that. So in essence, the idea was that every day I would write something that wouldn't necessarily be related to my project. Sometimes I'd do this for 5 or 10 minutes before I started my writing for the day, at the beginning of my writing day, or sometimes I would do this on the days when I really just didn't feel like any great writing was going to come, but I still wanted to do some sort of writing to keep up my practice, to keep the writing practice going day after day. And the approach that I took was to write in different forms. So every day to take up some different form of writing or to do some different exercise in writing that challenged me to think differently or to look closely at the way I was putting together sentences or to write a fun poem or to do something that just got my creative energies going. And this was a key step for me. It was a mental shift to be able to start thinking about my writing this way, that it wasn't just about me sitting down and pounding out thousands of words a day. It was that I had to have a particular flow and a particular way of working so that I'd be able to get to the end goal as quickly as I could in the most productive fashion that I could. And that's really what happened. I was able to finish up the project in fairly short order in the course of a few months after putting this system in place. the writing was done, and I was, on my way to walking across that stage and getting the degree, which is, was the goal. And the same thing can work for you in your writing practice. If you are able to set up a cross-training, a writing practice based on creative cross-training, you're going to see huge gains in your productivity, in your creativity, and in the way that you use language. Erica is going to tell you a little bit more now about our creative cross-training method and just how it works.
So let's start with the concept of cross-training. I did competitive gymnastics as a kid for many, many years. And one of the things that our coach had us do that I didn't really understand at the time, but she had us do yoga and practice mindfulness meditation. And this might seem, like a very similar type of activity, but for us competitive athletes and really competitive minded people wanting to, be in the gym as much as we could and gaining our strength and doing our routines, for our coach to say, I want you to spend less time in the gym, less time doing your routines, practicing your routines, and I'd like you to sit down on this yoga mat and close your eyes and meditate. That really seemed counterintuitive to me at the time. But now I realize that this was a form of cross-training, and the benefits really relayed back into my primary sport of gymnastics in several ways. So the yoga obviously allowed me to become more flexible, to gain, more agility and more poise. And then the mindfulness really allowed us to get our mental toughness up and our ability to, reduce the negative self-talk and all those things that are really important in sports, the mental game, as they call it. And so that idea of cross-training, we brought into our writing practice, and we called it creative cross-training. And it works in a similar way. What creative cross-training really allows you to do is it allows you to actually get more work done by stepping away from your main writing project. It seems counterintuitive, but as a lot of the research and productivity shows, it's in the breaks and in the downtime and in the stepping away from the work that really allows you to assimilate and allow all the ideas that you're working on to percolate and to simmer in the background. Creative cross-training is this idea that you step back for the purposes of engaging with a short, expressive subject prompt. And it could be 5 to 15 minutes every day doing something else for the purposes of really increasing your productivity, innovation, and willingness to experiment and turbocharge, I guess, your main writing. Really, when you put a little bit of a constraint on what you can write, whether it be formal constraints like syllable count or rhyme scheme or word count, if you're writing a really short story of like 60 words, which I did the other day, which was really fun, those constraints really force you to engage with things in a different way and really shift your thinking, and really it creates a spark that you then, once you get into it, you might stop your expressive subject writing prompt for the day and then directly transition to your day's writing on your novel or your memoir or your business book, whatever it is. So the creative cross-training is something that you do not instead of your writing, but alongside it. These are things that will carry over forever. Once you have a solid writing habit, once you give yourself permission to be imaginative and more creative than you ever thought possible, these are all things that carry over into everything that you do, and it only builds on itself. And I really hope that this idea of creative cross-training will help you to take on your big writing projects and make them seem more fun and manageable and part of your everyday life and writing practice.